It's the pre-market ritual you never knew you needed. Get ready to Gap and Go with the Calum Trading Institute.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Gap and Go. Last 2 weeks, we've seen one of the weakest asset classes for the last few years. Totoo na ba to? Hindi. And we always talk about the differences in the narrative from the East and the West, where the West is still in a stagflation type of environment, while the rest of the world is deflating and most likely in disinflation. So has that narrative changed? We've seen job markets come down, revised negatively once again last night. And you've seen both your 2-year, 10-year, 20-year, your short and long dated durations start to collapse in yields. Jason, what's our approach? What do you think? Is just priced in already? Or is it the start of something even bigger?
I think it's the start of something big. Kasi diba, the Fed has paused for the past year, diba? But actually, if you look at the world, it has been one of the most aggressive rate cut cycles, diba? So I think what's definitely changed is that the labor market is not as strong as what's expected, right? You've seen a lot of data in the past few months, a lot of weakness, a lot of revisions downwards. Diba? Although I must say, it's not really as weak as kasi sinasabi nila there's a lot of adjustments and a lot of for the first time daw in 100 years net outflow yung immigration ng US. So actually that changes the labor market dynamics, and it doesn't mean that it's that weak, diba? But regardless, I think we've seen a big shift in expectations, diba? Rate cuts and a big drop in bond yields. So definitely there's something there. Actually, I'm quite bullish kasi parang I think that we're heading into this Goldilocks scenario for the market for equities. Not too hot, not too cold, and resumption of rate cut cycle. So parang I think liquidity is very plentiful, and yeah, I expect a lot of action.
So your consensus view is that Goldilocks period where despite things weakening, it's nothing out of the ordinary, meaning there's nothing systemic, there's nothing a large concern. Okay, things are slowing down, but it's just recalibrating like what we always talk about. And at the end of the day, if you look at liquidity, the additional liquidity should support the medium term and the long term growth for the US. Is that like a best way to describe current scenario?
Yeah, parang sa gitna lang, right? Which allows the Fed to support the market, diba? Kasi inflation naman is it's down naman
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And let's get right into it. S&P seesawing behind 630 to 650. There was some scare the other week that AI capex might start to slow down, but all of a sudden the following week, Mark Zuckerberg comes out with the rest of the other tech executives and says it completely clear: we're going to be spending $600 billion in the next 3 years in tech and AI capex, right? And we always talk about AI, and we always talk about the AI capex because, Jason, share to everyone again, what's the percentage of total GDP brought by AI capex?
So we have to clarify GDP growth, not overall GDP. So in GDP growth, it's like 75%. Siyempre, there's a lot of supporting industries, right? Construction, industrial, right? So it's really a huge driver of the economy. And parang for me, key pillar of support. Diba? I mean, you've seen Trump last week, may round table with all the tech executives. Just keep spending, keep investing, right? I think what I failed to mention a while ago is that I guess people are now, I guess the concern now is all of this like priced in, diba? Kasi syempre, the US has ridden a lot from the April lows, diba? And I think definitely the risk reward is not so favorable. Anybody's guess, but if you ask me, tingin ko akit pa.
Anything else to add, Bri? I mean, are we? It's not that I don't disagree with these statements. From a trader perspective, obviously, overbought continues to remain overbought, and then we'll talk about the Philippines later, which is oversold and refuses to rally. So, I mean, anything else to add on the U.S. end and how's speculation? How's the day trading? How's the excitement going on underneath?
From where the market structure is today, you're parang caught in between whether this will go through euphoria or a major correction. That's why in terms of trading, medyo cautious. Kasi you don't know if you're buying. So, kasi parang expensive siya eh. Definitely expensive siya. So, we're not really at the starting point. We're calling this a late stage move. So, it's either it goes to a major correction from here or euphoria. And for this to go through euphoria, kailangan mura yung leverage eh. Meaning, interest rates mo dapat mura para murang when they push prices mura. So I don't know, earnings are still great sa Mag 7 and your small cap sector is catching up.
Well, your basura sectors have
Basura sector, there's a new sector now, it's called treasury. They call it treasury strategy. Yung mga Octo. Diba? Recently, yung Octo OCTO recently. So, the previous
they're copying Monster MSTR MicroStrategy.
BMNR,
Octo, and last night was Caliber ba yun? CWD.
what?
Delta. Yeah. Yeah, Caliber.
How do you find these issues?
So every day, so the process is before market opens, like mga 7 p.m. They publish this movers in Finviz. So we just look at it.
Oh, I think the underlying looks very much alive to me. Like yung isa yung URA, uranium, ano ba? Block.
Like,
Diba? Mga Bitcoin, Sky. So parang for me, yeah. Maybe it's definitely because of lower interest rates, diba? Lower bond yields mean yung mga long duration assets like yung mga ARK and Friends could go up, diba?
Yeah, those definitely mga energy sector. If you look at uranium, it's like going out of its reset eh. So parang yung next leg niya up is parang as big than last week. If you look at uranium. So yung mga CCJ mo going through a high tide flag yan eh. So, yeah, CCJ. So yeah, a lot of these new issues are lately mga theme issues bumalik na naman, di ba? So if you look at IONQ, parang it's going to come out of its reset, parang lalabas din. Wolf, last night the big news was NBIS getting its contract bigger than its market cap. Yun yung sabi nila from Microsoft. So this is a company that does this data centers. So the whole sector came out. Sino ba? CoreWeave rallied. Probably a floor for CoreWeave. Yeah, again, Wolf Iron, yan tuloy-tuloy siya ang process. So those things, maraming the biggest, I think, in terms of high growth, the biggest mover was yung Druckenmiller stock It's yung APP. So another tech issue.
You know the funny part about all these data centers, just to add. So, do you treat it as if it's a property company because of the capex requirements, right? Or do you look at it as if it's a high growth sector? And my parallelism with the data center companies is like solar in the Philippines, and that solar company is obviously ASEN, right? Where you're going through massive capex. The question is, what's the return on all that capex, right? So that's, well, to be fair, valuations aren't outrageous, I believe, right? It's just that, when you're looking at it, just keep that in caution. Because sometimes you can get very excited, such as the solar industry before, right? We've seen that happen before, where people are just excited because it's the future, blah, blah, blah. But the question is, at the end of the day, what are the returns? And
Yeah.
I don't think they're high. So I think that's something to watch out for.
For me, any business that have gigantic capex requirements and assets are highly risky.
Yeah, it's part of the AI story. So
Yeah, but no questions asked. Is it going to benefit in the short term? I obviously
that's a question.
that's the what's being priced in today.
So supply side siya eh. So you can't do AI if you don't have these data centers. So, but when it's done already, when it's built, meron ba talagang gagamit?
May gagamit. Problema lang, may kikita ba? I think that's the more important question.
Yeah. So parang for me kasi yung chips, they get obsolete quite quickly.
Yep.
So parang I think the depreciation is quite high.
The maintenance capex and the renewal capex is very high.
So parang for me, medyo scary. Data center business.
Anything else before I go on to my favorite market, which for me is the most important market? Okay. So just some preview. This is a stock that I've been monitoring. I think today it's at 9 times PE. They just opened the first few shops here, I think last week, if I'm not mistaken. So Changi opened 3 shops here in Manila. They have over 6,600 stores globally. Obviously, 4,000 of them is located in China. And I thought the product was great. I think the story of the founder is also great. The guy's 33 years old, an orphan, spent his life in the milk tea shop, and that's where he got his first capital to set up Changi. Like, great story. I mean, you got to give it to the guy. But there's a huge price war happening in China, where all the Grab, Food Panda, their local, I forgot the name of their local Chinese Grab and Food Panda there, where they're giving away free coupons for milk tea, and that's the reason why you're seeing such a huge price war. And the winner of that so far has been the cheaper ones, which is also listed, which is this guy here, Mi Xie. So totally opposite post IPO. One is up, one is down. This guy is maybe what, $1? 60 pesos lang ata to dito eh. Well, the other guy is 150. Changi is 150. And they refuse to play this pricing game war. Now, I'm just sharing this because if you look at China today, markets are still slowing down, right? No questions asked, including on the property sector. But you're starting to see some things reverse. And I mean, first of all, you can talk about your tech reversing. You look at KWeb actually adjusted for yuan, already sitting at new highs, right? So underneath that surface, even on the tech side, right, everything has been tech. Alibaba announcing that they're doing their own chips versus NVIDIA. So there might be a lag behind the consumer end. And the reason why I share the consumer is because I was talking about Changi, et cetera, versus the tech. And it looks like the tech is saying a different story. And I think this is great news for Hong Kong and China. And I think the key catalyst here, obviously, is because you look at China yields, bond yields. This should have been no-brainer, right? You're sitting at 1.8, 1 to 1.8%, record low, less than half of the US. And I think this has been the main driver for why I'm bullish and why I'm positive for Hong Kong. And hopefully this still continues. Underneath the surface, there's a lot of good movement happening on China tech. So I think there's going to be plenty of opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. Because of the low rates, your speculation is becoming cheaper. You need leverage again. You need leverage.
I think the key, I think we were talking about it before, right? You look at HSBC, You look at the companies that have high dividend. High dividend, 6-7% in Hong Kong.
Mm.
Your China banks, OCBC, sorry, not OCBC, China Bank Corporation, China Overseas, etc., etc. All these guys are sitting at new highs today, right? Mainly because they were giving out 6-7% cash dividend, maybe 5-6 times PE. And then your telco 762, 941, also all rallied because these guys were also giving huge amounts of dividend post that drop in 10-year. So, I mean, why buy a 2% yield on the China Treasury when I can get 6-7% on the equity? And usually your assumption here is that they're stable, and that looks like that's the case, right? That's why all these guys have outperformed. The weakest maybe has been the property market because we all know that there's a property slowdown happening in Hong Kong and China. But your leading guys in property, and I say leading is because they're probably one of the most important raw materials here, which is the glass of all the buildings. And it looks like it's also reversing. So like these guys, like Sydney Glass is sitting at 8-9 times PE, 5% cash dividend. Right? So I'm sharing all these things because I still think that there's plenty of more opportunity in Hong Kong, actually, right? And there's going to be plenty of skepticism, which is also the good part, right? Because the problem in the US, everything just continues to channel higher, especially in your big tech. In Hong Kong and China, it doesn't work that way because there's always that risk of, sorry, not risk. There will always be a place out once it rallies. And that's the reason why there's always a buy low, sell high type environment in Hong Kong and China, which gives us better opportunity as traders to participate. Diba? So I had this question asked to me. The Chinese are too smart, right? Every time it rallies, sure plays out yan. Because they know that there's a cyclicality in the business.
Mm.
Diba? So what have we seen? We've seen nauna na yung mga big tech. In fact, I think Xiaomi placed out twice in this rally already, right? I forgot. I think it was somewhere around here, and then another one around here. But let's be clear. I mean, Xiaomi is still sitting at new highs today, right? But it's very common, and I think you'll see this with many companies where after markets rally, plays out. Diba? I mean, you've seen companies from the very beginning. Kaka-IPO lang. This is 9660, owned by all the big boys, Tencent, etc., etc. Which is doing all the autonomous vehicles for BYD, even for Volkswagen. This guy IPO'd and then plays out. This is what? 1 year late. Wala pang 1 year later, plays out. Rallies into new high. I'm telling you guys, another 6 months, magpa-plays out din to. But it's ironical, and the reason why I say this is because in the US, when you place out, normally umaakit after because there's a reason why they're spending the capex, diba? In the Philippines and in emerging market, usually pag plays out, pababa yan eh. Because there's a share overhang that has happened, right? And usually pag nagbenta ang insiders, that usually is the cause of concern for most of these companies in Philippines and in Hong Kong. Right? I'm just sharing to you guys the dynamics because I think there's legs, in my opinion, for Hong Kong. And every single drop that we will see, in my opinion, looks like it's a chance to at least get in.
Yeah. Looking at consumer also, because all low rates, rising markets, eventually, probably, pero far out kung makyat man yung property prices. But programs in the healthcare, diba? If you look at healthcare, all improving. So all these things are pointing to encouraging the Chinese to spend. So maybe eventually you'll see a lot of consumer issues go up. IPO also.
That's what we're hoping for. I think that's the most important part. Is that consumer sector to start turning around. There's some concerns on the automobile sector, right? The last few months. In fact, BYD reported earnings last week, came out down, if I'm not mistaken, down 20+%, which was actually bad, because they were blaming the price war that was happening in Chinese EVs, right? But this is on the big ticket items. So you could say that things starting to consolidate on the main consumer staples. I think that part is the key. And that's the reason why I'm using Misha and Chagi as the poster boy of consumer staples, because once these guys start to consolidate, maybe you'll start to see opportunity happen for these guys.
I think in terms of price war, when the government stepped in the steel industry, I think that allowed prices to go up. I think 2 weeks ago, competition in the battery sector has heated up. So may patayin din ng presyo.
Yep.
So the government stepped in. So if you look at 666, started to really high growth company, supplying batteries to almost everyone. So started to move also. So I'm expecting this sector to trend up also, because tinigil na yung price war, pinagsabihan na. And if you look at naman the Meituan sector, you look at 3690 still at the bottom. Kasi yung maraming kalaban kasi. If you try to read about the story of Meituan, it's coming from an industry that's parang Groupon sector na 5,000 competitors, tapos sila yung natira.
That's the reason why your consumer stocks are also going down, because these guys are willing to burn and give out free additional coupons and discounts.
True.
Parang galing diba? Parang that's how China supports the entire economy, right? Supports the big tech, and then tells the big tech, give away free money and free coupons so that you get people more to spend.
So somehow it's hindi siya completely parang invisible hand ba yun, Jason? Yung nakatabi yung parang may involvement yung government pa rin, thesis. May deterioration sa presyo, may deterioration sa market. Diba? They step in. Hindi completely left to the players.
Which is what the US is turning into recently.
Oh,
Authoritarian.
actually, that part they're trying to emulate.
Okay, let's just go straight into it. Talk about the flood control and the Philippines. So, trillion in the last 3 years, almost $1 billion a day. Thoughts on the Philippines? May pag-asa ba? May pag-asa ang 2-year, new loan ang 2-year.
I think from what you explained in the banking sector in Hong Kong, I think that could be a catalyst if this yung mga 10-year natin bumagsak. So pupunta sana sa mga yield issues. Although the past year, mga REITs mo, mga yield issues benefited.
Yep. A-REIT, C-REIT.
So siguro another leg down on your 10-year. Baka you'll see a bounce in your tempo di ba? If it's the same logic as yung sa Hong Kong, so yield-wise.
And I agree. That's the funny part, because I think PLDT is sitting at 8.5%, 9%.
Grabe, di ba?
Diba?
Grabe yung interest differential. Grabe.
Look at the ARPUs. Look at the average revenue per user of PLDT. They're all trending downwards for PLDT, Globe, and Converge.
So siguro you can say if 10-year goes down to like near 5 or 4, baka no-brainer na.
Actually,
diba?
I don't like the telco sector, but honestly, I think no-brainer na at these levels.
At least as a mean reversion move.
Even from an investment standpoint. I mean,
if you lock in at Yeah,
I think the concern and the ARPUs are, I mean, they're valid. No questions about it. They're valid because, and largely because of Converge. But as things go along, I think the quality and the prices of telcos and internet will come to a consolidation and will eventually stop. Meaning I mean, there are always going to be concerns on the industry, but the pricing war eventually will stop. Because then, tinatamaan na sila lahat eh. Which is exactly what's happening today. And reminds me of maybe 14 years ago about digital. I don't know if people still remember about Sun Cellular, right? And that was the case because Sun. I don't. I'm not sure what Sun is now, but Sun at that time. Again, bagsakan ng presyo. In fact, Sun Cellular was barely making any money until the best thing that ever happened was PLDT buying Sun Cellular, and then nawala yung price war, and all of the telcos really benefited thereafter, right? Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I mean, nobody's going to buy Converge. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the point being here is that eventually the pricing war has to stop, diba? Or else nobody benefits from the entire industry. And to be fair, the pricing war is good for the consumer, I really believe, because then we get, as consumers, better price, right? But I think at today's level, pricing is like good value in my opinion. Right? I think the value of internet and mobile subscription is value today. Baka naman sila kasi Bingo Plus eh, diba? Pero nonetheless, I think the pricing is still decent at today. Other than that, yeah, sorry.
Well, I hope from my perspective, I think the entire ASEAN is not really in play. Parting of Philippines is still. I think the flood control thing is, of course, important, but it's not the main driver of the market, if you ask me. Kasi when you look at it, it's still highly efficient. The ones that are doing okay are up there, and the ones that are weak earnings are down there. So
I think it maybe not the main reason, but I think it's still contributing to why people don't want to touch our markets also.
I mean,
let's be honest. Parang Napoles ka, 10 billion lang eh.
I think yung nakakatawa yung sa, di pala nakakatawa. Yung sa YouTube, the algorithm that was recommended to me is yung Japanese flood control. Hindi ka naman tama, but they only spent like $2 billion to, fix the flood.
I'm sure ganun yun. Hindi siya ganun ka-complicated, but yun nga, it's...
Well, another day, another story. We're not engineers, but one thing that has been rallying and getting more foreign inflows has been your property market. Ali, Megaworld, RLC, SM Prime, probably banking on that lower interest rate type of story as well.
I have an anecdote, yung sa may New Manila area, di ba? Megaworld Prop Development. Ubos, 350,000 per square.
I just
area.
Imagine buy property companies. I'll just be honest, right? I get the question, like, and honestly, I think it's gonna rally. And if I look at it technically, they all look like gonna rally. Especially, the weakest has been SM Prime because they're the most expensive versus the other props. But I also think they're gonna rally. I just can't get myself to buy all these props.
Not actually clear.
And the main reason is because of the REITs. I mean, if you have a REIT counterpart, it doesn't make sense at all to buy the props. But of course, value comes at a price, and I think that's what the market's already pricing in. And looks like they actually have higher share price appreciation for your props than for the REITs.
Well, siguro aside from in general, aside from interest rates going down, I think we need the electricity cost to go down before these things go up.
Hey, so SGP, big news happening in SGP, right? Ever since the Maharlika entry in January of this year, you've had them get their reimbursement done of 28 billion, and then earnings came out great, and for the first time after I think 2 years, they're issuing a 37 cents cash dividend after a long period of time, which was in similar to what they were issuing prior to all the drama that happened the last 2 years. So I guess that's a good sign that's been happening lately. Sorry, not a good sign for consumers because it's going to make the what do you call that? The rebate is charged to us, but still.
It's charged to us then.
Meralco, again, all these things are key concerns, in my opinion. Part of national security, energy, food, and most importantly, education. Pray for the Philippines. Okay. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Some news we've been hearing on the gambling side. Yeah, we know transactions were down 50% post the ban. We've been hearing news that it's recovered actually a bit, not to the 100% levels, but it's recovered from the 50% lows that they've seen. So people have been directly investing in what do you call that? The websites instead of passing through Gcash. So I was laughing about it. I'm sure none of these politicians use Scatter or Color Game or Bingo Plus. Right? They have to go to the live casinos to do it. All right, last things.
Alphas, any alphas? Meron ba alphas?
Tingnan ng Pilipinas eh.
Gold lang eh. Diba? If you look at it.
Yung mga EPX nickel.
PX, Lepanto, even Lepanto.
Yeah. So your gold miners, copper miners are all rallying. I don't know. I don't want to. I don't have much thoughts on it versus outside.
Yeah, but I think my new mining tax bill.
For large tax regime,
Yeah,
enhanced large scale mining,
would help.
which is, huh?
I think yung nickel Asia, parang news kasi dyan is that the Indonesia has increased yung royalty taxes on nickel ore exports to 14 to 19%, which is actually big. So yeah, that's helping the business of nickel Asia, of course.
Yeah, but when I look at nickel prices, I don't know.
I think, yeah, parang ibang benchmark ata sila eh.
I know they're looking at Chinese nickel
Oo, on Chinese
as a
eh.
raw export, right? But I don't think it's going to be anything close to the 2013 that they experienced when Indonesia banned the nickel ore export.
And parang I think the ban on has been going on for a long time. Kaya parang tingin ko there's no investment na rin masyado nickel
Wala
ore
naman
mining. Oh.
Well, maybe we should all just wait for Tampangan. All right. Okay. I think that's pretty much it for today's Gap and Go. We talked about the US, talked about the rate cut, talked about the markets pricing in actually not just 25 bips for September. There are even some talks of doing 50 bips. And we talked about the labor market weakening. And to be fair, despite the weakening in the yields, we're still seeing massive rampant speculation happen in your smaller caps in the United States. United States is still higher. It looks like hingal lang hingal, but normally when we see these things in Goldilocks period, it's actually very normal. So we might see a blow off because of higher increase in liquidity. But for me, my priority has been Hong Kong and China, and that continues to outperform. In fact, EEM has actually outperformed post Liberation Day in March, led by China. Unfortunately, not part of EEM is the Philippines. And so the Philippines has been lagging behind. And I was actually surprised because Philippines is down 8% year to date. I didn't know. So hopefully things get better for the Philippines. Not much to say, but good luck to all of us. And hopefully we get to see more flows, more foreign inflow, and more participation happen in the markets. I think one of the key sectors we talk about the Philippines has been your telco. Tapos na ba ang gera? And is the 9% dividend worth your while? And my answer is yes. I think Brian is also yes. Hopefully Jason is also yes. So, bye guys, and I'll see you guys 2 weeks from now. Bye guys.